Okay guys, welcome back. We're going to do our, nearly got caught. Let's go over here, start recording. I did that last time. I spent about an hour doing a processing video and all I had was the camera watching me. So we're recording the screen now. You can see the screen, and the reason we got the background there is so I know exactly where the edges of the screen are. So we've got 5 videos here. We'll run through Autostakkert, Registax, Astrosurface, and Winjupos. I do have WaveSharp on the computer, but we won't touch that today because I don't know enough about it. Now, typically, if I'm just mucking around quickly, I'll just use Registax to do the wavelets. Autostakkert's always been the go-to for the stacking. It's just the best, and it has the least variance of any results. And Astrosurface is the best processor at the moment for me, and with what I know about it, that may change, but you're going to be getting into a very, very high level of imaging before you outgrow Astrosurface. So let's have a quick look here. I'll leave chapters down below, so you can just jump ahead. If you're all over each program, you can just go and have a look at the one you want to. Most people Winjupos is the one that they're really interested in, and I do have another older video on the channel of Winjupos, and it's doing really, really well. I think it's the most watched video on my, not in terms of views, but in terms of duration and length and hours consumed. It's huge. So we'll have a look here. We'll go through a few of the things. So your file, your open, shut, everything like that. Memory usage, you want adaptive if you can. Color, auto detect is not too bad, but sometimes it does muck around. If you shoot in mono like me, you're better off just to come up here and click grayscale, or then if it usually is spot on with your auto detect on your color, but this is where you need to change it if something looks odd, if your planet's different color or something like that. So these captures are in mono, and they're taken with the Uranus and mono camera from player 1. Advanced, they're pretty self-explanatory. I do use this feature every now and again, but it only works really well with mono captures. It still struggles with debayering, but basically it's a field rotation thing, whereas you tell it where you are, the altitude it's at, the azimuth it's at, and how long the recording went for, and basically it will slowly rotate the capture in the opposite direction, and you'll get the basically it'll just turn your whole image into, with an auto scope, your whole video into a flat and level scope. So it makes it a bit easier, and depending on your focal length and stuff like that, that might not be an issue. If you're down below 5,000 millimeters and you're imaging 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you're not really going to tell. But when you get up, like actually this one here is only about 8,000 millimeters, but I am up around 10,000, and you can, my captures are 60 seconds. So to give you an idea. Anyway, this is a good tool. Always have a bit of a play, test it out. So they're the advanced settings, image calibration, as per normal. Now I don't normally play with much of that stuff. I do the rotation thing on occasion, maybe a CH4 video or a UV Saturn video. I will counter rotate it. Up here, expand's a very tricky one, and it's not intuitive of how it does it, but basically you can record 100,000 frames, and then by using this tool you can split it up into 100,000 frame videos, or 50, 2000 frame videos, etc., etc. So I won't go into that here, but maybe something like an ISS capture where it changes its orientation pretty quickly. You can group it down into maybe 400, 500 frame batches where it'll still stay pretty stable and go from there. Limits a function I can use pretty regularly. So let's say our video is, I think our video is 6,077 frames. So if you look up here, the last bit of it you don't want, you've run into a tree, you've lost it off the chip or something like that, and it keeps playing up. First frame 0, last frame 5,000, apply. Now if we look again, we're gone down to 5,000 frames. We might stretch it up a little bit. So that's really good. Limit, what we can even do, we'll show you, do 1,000, apply. So now we've only got 1,000 frames. That, by the way, is probably around half the speed or something like that. So it actually looks like it was better seen than it really was, because I was shooting at 100 frames a second, and that's probably 35, 40 frames a second. So, but anyway, okay, so that's that one. We're going to disable that. We'll come down here. So surface is probably what you want if you're doing moon imaging or something like that, you can't see the edges of the planet. So if you look at that now, it will stay. I'll take that off there. This actual video won't move around that much, but can I try and find, let's find a video where I didn't, this is using the cutout box in fire capture, so it always will stay. The cutout box is fire capture, and it uses the center of the planet, and then it draws a line around the outside of that, and it always, doesn't matter where it moves on the chip, it always records those frames and pixels. So if I find a bigger, this is in, I don't think I use cutout on this one. So this is a color capture, and I think I have used cutout on that because it's not moving planet. No, I didn't. So this is what you're looking at. So in that video there, when you've got surface on, Saturn might look like it's in exactly the middle of the frame, but it's definitely not. So, and you can see some of the moons down here. But here we go here, we'll come back a little bit, so it's there. Now if we go to planet, see all this area here. So Saturn moves a little bit in a second, and then you'll see, where was it? Anyway, you'll see that it remains stationary, but the frame around it that's tightened down there in the corner changes. So that's planet, and that's surface. So disable stabilization, obviously just check them to see what you like. Improve tracking, there you go, I've moved that. Let's move it a bit, see how it moves around. And there you've got a few moons and tighten down in the corner. I think I'll push it along to make sure I've got those moons in the picture. Yeah, it was pretty ordinary seeing, but so there we go. Expand if it's surface. So that is if you've got a moon capture. Let's say it's a whole image of just some craters on the moon, very zoomed in, and it is moving around a tiny bit. Expand will give you the entirety of where the the chip, it'll stack. It'll stack it like a mosaic. So that's what expand is. Crop will find the section of the chip that has never moved out of view, and it will crop you back down. Now, I always click expand, and I will crop it later if it's pretty shit in the edges and stuff like that. I have done a mosaic of the moon and didn't realise I'd bumped the scope or something like that, and then I'd had a slit in the middle of the mosaic that it looked like I hadn't captured the whole entire area of the moon, and I binned all that footage, and then I looked and I realised I'd fucked that one up. Quality estimator, automatic. I don't really pay any attention to that, to be totally honest, because it doesn't matter what it says. 15, we'll go back, sorry, one more processing tutorial. We'll go back to this one. It doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what the quality estimator says. Your data is your data. Some people use that to give themselves some more frames or whatever, like stack above 50%, and you can sort of do that if you like. I don't use it. I just stick with my 2000 or something like that, and I'll get really nice data. I'll just select frames to stack. I'll start at 2000, and then I might try 3, and I have even tried 4, and I'll just get it to stack those batches of those videos. So I don't. If you look there, the quality graph is telling me, what's that? It's telling me I should only be, if you go above 50%, I should only be stacking 575 frames. Well, that's just not doable. And it's pretty. What's that? No, that's not what I clicked on. Is that's just a rough go of this data, and you can see that it's better than what the quality estimator is stating. So don't stress. Just use your own amount of frames and go from there. We might stick with 2000 today because that's about what it looks like to me. So I don't worry about that. We've just analysed it. 6077. I'll come over. We'll keep going with this. So we want output in TIFF file. Always use TIFF. You can have PNG or FIT. Sharpen. No, never sharpen. That's what your other programs are for. Output options, blah, blah, blah. Save it into folders. Autostakkert 4 comes with that not checked, so you'll have random captures next to your videos, and if you like that, that's better. So you uncheck that, and then it'll save it right next to your videos. Drizzle, no, because you always make your image scale before you capture your videos. So you get your Barlow, aim for your F15, F18. F18's pretty spot on you won't have any dramas with anything. If you're at F18, and also I'll be able to show you on Winjupos how to calculate your focal length. A lot of people think that a 3x Barlow gives you 3x, but as soon as you put in an 8EC or something like that, or your image sensor, the further away the image sensor gets from the top of the Barlow, then the more focal length you get, unless it's parafocal, but a lot of them are not. So we'll just run with that. So I just get the image scale right at the start, which is your 5x, 6x, 7x. 7x optimum for perfect seeing. Most of the time 6x is totally fine, and 5x is fine. One of my best images I've taken was 5x. Like you can see the difference when it's side by side, but if you're not looking to side by side to a 6 or 7x time setup, you're not going to notice a difference. Good seeing is good seeing. Okay, resample. I never use any of those. We'll come over here. Align points, a red box around the outside, that shows what I was talking about with surface. Planet's not there. Go back to surface, align points. And this, because I did surface before, I'll just quickly do this again. This is what Autostakkert thinks is as the best few frames. We'll go down the back and you'll see it starts to fall apart. So it reorganized, and it'll tell you what frame it is up there, up here. So second frame is the 374th best one by its calculations, which is a contrast-based system. Width and height, just leave it like that. If you are doing ones with moons in the image and they're a lot further off, when you used your planet to center in the middle of the capture, because it will always center the planet in the middle of the capture when you're doing your planet, then your moons will fall off the edge. So you can go to width and you can pull this up a fair bit. So I'll take remember off, and then you'll go there, and then you can see that it's a lot wider, and it's the moons go out a lot further. So it will stack them as well, and it'll show you that. So we don't want to remember that. We'll just go back. I'll just drop another one in, and it'll go back to 848 by 536. That was the cutout box I was using. Traditionally, in when I'm up around higher focal lengths, I'll just have a bigger area, maybe 1500 pixels by 1300 pixels, and then I'll use a cutout box in that to guarantee the stability of the planet, because at the higher focal lengths it does move around a little bit, and then you've also got the flexibility of 1500 pixels wide, so you get a little bit of movement in that area there. But that's what we have here. So width, the height, zoom, how big it is. Yeah. Alignment points, we haven't put them on yet. That's how many alignment points you have. Your manual draw, you can make them double click. You got to click once to get them started, then click again. Right click is get rid of them, and left click is to draw them. Click, click. Right. Another thing I probably didn't say is you can go through the frames. You don't like this frame, spacebar, gone. So turn red up the top here. That frame's now gone and will be not be considered in the final output. So if you've got a not a bad capture, and then in the middle of it there's 200 shit frames because it came, you've cut it off the side of the chip, then you can go through and just get rid of 200 frames like that. So all of those red ones you can see now, they will not be considered. I'll get rid of them. That's the last one, I think, that one. Oh. That's it. Spacebar, very handy, and I'd used this program for a year and a half or 2 years before I knew about that one. So manual draw, we don't want to do that. We'll just let it do its thing. It's pretty good now. Now, once upon a time, I used to just probably use 60, 70, something like that. Like these are pretty big boxes, but I used to just draw them on myself, you know. Try not to have edges, if you're going to draw them on, don't have your edges close to each other. Like don't, where do we go? See that there? So you have each box right next to each other. That will create a big artifact down here. Let's just stack it and have a quick look. You can skip ahead if this is not in your wheelhouse, but just to show you. Try and make sure that you don't have that there, and then you, if you start to get those in your images, you'll realise, righto, I've done something wrong here. There we go, drag and drop. No, I didn't even do it there. That is the cause of it. All right. Let's get rid of. We'll go back to. Okie doke. Clear them. So 72, 64 for me today. That's fine. I mean, you don't want to be doing 16. Look how many there. It's not ideal. Do this yourself and test. If you're somewhere around 70, 80 align points, depending on your image scale, you're probably going okay. So if I do 40, what's that? So 71, that'll be right. See how it's all stacked, and it's got bigger boxes over it, so it takes, that's where it gets out of those artifact things. So it actually works quite well. So that's multi-scale. So always have multi-scale checked. That is pretty close to where you want it to be. Like, you want it to overlap the edges and that in some cases. You can use it, you can go under that. If we go down to minimum brightness 35, so it gets bigger. Minimum brightness 80, the boxes become smaller, and then you start to miss edges. It will still stack the planet, and it won't be too bad. But ideally, you want it all covered in the one go. What else is here? Yeah, that's about it. When you're using lunar and that big full image lunars, you want bigger boxes, like around 200 or something like that. Clear minimum, we'll go 55 for me. That's pretty close. This is just quick, guys, but that's pretty much what I do at the moment. I need to get back into it. Histogram, you can show you your histogram on this is overlaid. It won't be in the image or anything like that. This histogram, I'm not sure what's going on here, because this is actually incorrect. There's a histogram on Fire Capture 2, and I capture my videos at around 80 to 90, something like that. 70, above 70 is fine. If you've got like no clouds in the sky, stuff like that, you know, like you can bump it up. But if you've got some variable seeing, you just don't want it to fully saturate. But yeah, it's definitely out. So I'm unsure what's going on there. See how when you press play. Righto, stop. What else are we going to look at? Auto, you can leave that checked. It knows it's 8-bit. Export frames, current. No, we're not going to worry about any of that. That's about it. Anyway, we can go back here to show you these were all taken. So the 11:43 is UT time, so universal time. So 11:43 to 11:49. So it's 5 captures over 6 minutes. I'm going to drag them all in there, because I can just leave those boxes exactly where they are, and over 6 minutes the planet's rings aren't going to move out of that zone. So I'll go to analyze. I think you can get away with, as long as you drag your first capture in and then drag your last capture in, then it's not really a drama. You'll be able to see where it goes from and where it goes to. Now let's have a look. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Get rid of the histogram, the align points. If the align points aren't there when you're clicking, come up here and check that box. But we'll just go with that. Stack. What else? Yeah, it's pretty much the go-to. It's a good system, and I've just used Autostakkert 3 and now Autostakkert 4. I know Registax, you can also use it to process, to align and stack and all that type of stuff. It just doesn't do the job that this does. And just remember, guys, this is an amazing program. Registax was like, it's been around for 15 years and probably in its latest update, probably the last 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? Like, it was an amazing program and it really changed the way we do planetary imaging. We'll get into that next. We'll do Registax just quickly, and we'll process, just do a quick, like it's not really a full process, but we'll just do a quick wavelets on there, and then we'll head to Winjupos, and then we'll do a final process and wavelets and touch-ups on Astrosurface. So you'll just have a quick look at this. All of these programs, guys, are free. So if you can afford to donate, give them a couple of dollars and stuff like that. Like that, will really help out. So the amount of hours these guys have put into it, if you can afford to, please give to them, because we all benefit in the long run. I definitely have, and will continue to do so. And yeah, very thankful for all their hard work. Okay, Autostakkert 4, done and dusted. Now, another thing is, if any of you have any questions on that, leave them in the comments, and I will continue. I might do a live show or something like that, and we can go through any questions that came up. I can show you a bit more in depth in those areas. Okay, so this image here is no longer there. We're going to do this. So you can see with the different align points we used, this was the output, the result. I'm going to move this here. One thing I'll say before I forget, when we go through the Registax, is, so you go show full image, it drags it to the edges of the program. Well, sometimes it will make it, so that's not 1:1 pixels anymore. When it's like that, that's 1:1 pixels. So if you start seeing artifacts on your Saturn images when you're doing your sliders and stuff like that, sometimes it can be related to no longer 1:1 pixels. So artifacts can be generated by the program. So always try and process in 1:1 if you can. Now that's a pretty important one. Okay, we're back. We've reset the wavelets. I always just drag and drop them. You can open up the select, and you can open up the files yourself. That's fine, but TIFF files, PNG, whatever you like, JPEG, you can just drag and drop them. And if you're processing, you always need to be in TIFF or PNG. So drag and drop and go from there. Automatic, check, hold, wavelet settings. It makes them the same. So every time you drag new ones on, they'll always be there. Initial layer 1, step increment 0. Now I'll show you what that will do. Gaussian and default are different types of wavelets. The Gaussian, you can denoise as well while you're there. I don't denoise with Registax and never really have, but it can get it done, and it's it's 90% of what you're looking for. These preview boxes here, they are clickable. If you click on them, it's going to show you what the program is sharpening. So you can see here straight away with that step increment and initial layer 1 and Gaussian, that is just all noise. Now, if your images are 1,000 millimeters, like a much smaller, if your Saturns, well, I don't want them that small, but if your Saturns are this big, you know, well, it's hard to say because it's mine is mine. But if your Saturns are that big compared just normally, that box might be the box for you. Now, what you want to do, okay, so for image we don't want that, is you want to go through and you want to check each of these and see which one. So I have to go to step increment 1. So the first one is still the crap for me. Now that you can see that that is very close to, it's just not creating noise. It is giving some detail as well. And see how this one here is a bit fat. See how we're sort of losing detail. See that one, you can still see the bands in the planet and stuff like that. And this one's a little bit fat. Look at this one down here. You can see that there's a difference between that and that. So go through and you check all these check boxes. So that one's pretty good. And I'll tell you, default and Gaussian are slightly different. You go to default. Now look at that. Now what are we going to say? I'll click back to Gaussian. I'm just having a bit of a visual on this. So default is a little bit thicker and is probably the one I would choose just for this scenario. See how in here we're just, that's how I can tell that there's no, the histogram was wrong on Autostakkert, because we're very, very close to, you can reduce that with brightness and contrast and stuff like that and get it sorted out, but we won't muck around with that at the moment. We can do that in a live stream. Right, so we can see that that one is very close to what we want. Take that back to 1. This one's a bit fatter as well. I definitely would not go any more than sort of that at the moment. You don't want to fatten up the rings. See, we're fattening up the rings, starting to fatten up the rings. Look at the details you're changing. So we're just going to stay with that at the moment, and we'll go from there. Now I'll leave that there. We'll go over and we'll have a look at these other things. They're all going to be over. Oh no, this one's right here. So it's your histogram. Stretch. We don't want to do that, but stretch, you can really hammer it, reset. Right, get rid of that one. Gamma. That's your gamma. Now this can be useful for CH4, or also you see how it brightens up the edges of the planet or darkens them a little bit. Now darkening the edges of the planet with the contrast can give you that sphere look and can be nicer. So you might just put a tiny bit of that on at the end of your processing, but you can do that in Astrosurface or something like that. But so that's your gamma. You play around with it up the top here, or you drag it down the bottom. Different variations. Have a look, see what you think. Color mixing, can't show you anything on that here. Saturation is a saturation. Again, I'd probably stay away from this one. Astrosurface has a far better suite of tools to do this. Create luminance from RGB. I've never got that to work properly. Create black and white. Yep, I'd stay away from that one. If you zoomed, I'd stay away from as well. It just complicates things. You can always just scroll up, scroll down. Compare. No. Stack size. No. Flip and rotate. You can do that. Here we go. Actually, that's going to balk me. I'll just put another one in a second. RGB align. Now, if you've got your color capture and you haven't addressed your ADC correctly, your ADC is out slightly, then you just drag the checkbox around the area that you want to look at, click estimate. It's quite good at that. See down the bottom it's running. It'll give you quite close, but you can always just bump up the histogram and stuff, and if it's very bright, it might give you a red ring on one side, and you can change it manually with the manual buttons. So that's funny. We might have stacked it in color mode. So Autostakkert stacked it in color mode. So that one's just reset. That's pretty straightforward as well. Get rid of that. RGB align, RGB balance. This is very good. Again, when you're you've got a color capture, just click auto balance and reset auto balance. It will find that right right look, or the natural look. Again, also when I capture color data, I don't change the channels. The channels are all the same. That's why I get a green heavy hue. We've sorted out post. Resize image, we're not going to resize. Denoise and de-ringing, if you've got your Mars images and stuff like that, or your planet's got a big ring around the outside of it for some reason, this can get rid of it. But ultimately you want to try and sort it out before you get to here. Wavelet filter, yeah, no. Masking, no. Cropping area. These are all things you can come and have a play with when your own thing. This is a good program, but it's very old, but it's done an amazing job. Okay, we'll go to this, and we'll go to this, back to this, and we'll bang through these. I'm happy with that. Just a quick capture. Okay, whenever you do something, you've got to hit do all. Always do all before you save. That's why you make sure that everything is done and you're happy with. Save image, I always just go to the end, make sure it's TIFF or PNG if you like, but go down to the end here, W, wavelets, done. Next one, it'll auto do those wavelets. See, some straight up. You can see, I think this is Rhea's shadow, Rhea's up here. Do all, save, W. Do all, save, W. Number 4. All right, this is probably the best capture of that. See how the images get better? That's how you can tell which capture is your best one. This is probably getting to this, the moon, the shadow is getting quite nice. Do all, and one more. Yeah, it's not bad either. Okay, that is that. Let's move on. Registax, again, comments down below if you're unsure about anything, and we might go for 2 weeks' time. We'll do a live version, so you can come along and just have a chat, and we'll work out how to best do something for your images. We're getting rid of that. So this is all of them. I'll actually put them just to simplify. W, put them in a new folder. Actually, yeah, too late now. Sure was that. Yeah, stuff it. I'll just delete it. They're not in there. Righto, you're gone as well. Okay, let's go Winjupos, the magic maker. Celestial body, all of these can be done with it, and it's a great tool. It's got lots more in it than what we're going to show you here today, but it's a super bit of gear, this one. So, and I know there is no getting away from this one. If you want to produce spot on images and you've got those bigger scopes that can take advantage of the aperture and the seeing and the details, this is a must for you to make better images. If you're struggling to get things right and you've got a 5-inch, 6-inch, you're not really going to see the benefit at the moment, but camera technology is an amazing thing. So program celestial body, we're already on Saturn. Language, yep. Design, just standard. Don't worry about black. Preferences, all of this is default for me. I don't think I've changed anything. Okay. Recording, central meridian, yep. Measurements, don't use any of, I'm not uploading any stuff, so I don't use any image measurements where we're going to go in a second. Analysis, positional average, all this really detailed stuff here. Lists, meridian transits, measurements, sections, positional averages, lots of stuff. Data test, data repair, macro, file settings. This is where you can measure your focal length. It shows you, I can show you that in a second. Tools, derotation. This is where we'll come after we've derotated the images. If you've got a mono camera and you're using red, green, blue filters, that's where you'll go for that. Video streams, it's a bit clunky. I just use Autostakkert. I haven't tried it in a little while. I sort of haven't been doing planetary imaging much the last year, so this one might have had an update and be better. Window, nothing. Yeah, help. Visit the site. Again, guys, donate if you can. It's a great tool. Recording image measurements. No. Righto. Adjust. Don't stress. This is not me. You can go there and let me know you're there. We'll go and have a beer. Tells you the last ones that were in, the last videos that were uploaded, images that were uploaded. This would be the data from the last ones of those. Adjustments, we'll see this in a second. Position, yep. You can measure distances on the planet. It'll tell you relevant distances. Create transmission packages. I used to send my stuff to the Juno, my Jupiter stuff to Juno, and they can use it to detect areas on the planet that they want to focus on with their science. You can change things around here. Pixel size is where you tell focal length. That's my 6-inch. My 16-inch. There you go, 16-inch. Alt as. These are the settings you would change if you're on a different, like a GEM or what have you, or just make sure you fill out your data there. All this data today is actually the 24. So we're going to go image, open. We're not going to do that. Desktop. Sat. Braces tutorial. Righto, first one. There it is. So the wire cage, open. Yeah, we don't need ephemeris. Yes. Well, I'll steer clear of this for the day. We can dig deeper into it later. So this is the first one. You can see it's not as good as the other, but because the shadow's down here. But this is the shadow. Ultimately, if you can, and with Jupiter as well, your first capture should be with the moons. Hopefully with the moons in it, you can do a bit more of a wide, maybe your first and your last, and then you can make sure that the planets with the moons, they line up to where everything is, because the moons go all the way or it will show you all of them. You can see there's a couple of moons there. It's got a moon here. It's got a moon there. But if we go all the way in, there's a moon over there on the right-hand side, a couple of moons. We saw that before, and then Titan's come into view. Remember I said there was in the color capture, there was a couple of moons there. And then Titan, that's Titan over here. So if you've got all them in your images, you will not muck up the alignment, because the alignment is critical and you really need to take your time. So what have we got? We'll move over here. Now I will just stretch this out a little bit. Oh, is that it? That's it there. Because you need to make this as big as bright light. You need to make this as big as you can to try and get that balance, to make the alignment successful. Okay, our keys, page up, page down is size. Arrow keys, this is the right arrow key, left, up, down. And P and N rotate. And you can see they're annotated there. Actually, that wasn't a moon before, that was just the P. See, P is rotating that way, N will rotate that way. Okay, so they're the keys that you need. And I think spacebar, yeah, it gets rid of the wireframe. What have I got here? Actually, I'm upside down. Righto, lucky I got that. See the rings, that's probably from Registax, so I should have cancelled that out when I did the rotation on it. So, all right, guys. Now I'll have to just rotate all the way around. Bear with me. Dummy. Is that the moon up the top there? Yeah. Just holding down. I think that's the moon shadow there. I think the third one looks pretty good. The third capture of this. So ultimately, try and just stack your best ones, and you get a much better result. But you can also throw in like a couple of, if you've got 3 captures that you think are the best you got, and then you have there's 2 more captures there, and they're 80%, 85%. It might be worth throwing them in there just to reduce the noise. You're going to see that like this is a little bit noisy, but you'll see when the others go in on top, it will reduce the noise. So there's a balance there, but just try it without. You can see in a little while here, you can remove them from the stacking. You can still measure them all and then remove them from the stacking and then generate an image, and then you can see which one you like best. So don't be scared to include ones that aren't crash hot if there's a benefit to it. So we'll wait and see. Okie doke, come on. And also you can see down the bottom here, and I'll quickly show you, this is how we can tell how big our focal length is. All right, well, this is balking. I can rotate it. I will rotate it, I think. Okay, that's pretty close, but rotation. I like it the other way. Okay, what we'll do, it's still, we're going to look at, see the ends, look at the ends. That one is okay, this one's not, so we're still a little bit out. We'll go N, P, and looks like that's it. We're going to go down. Now I can't really, spacebar. That's pretty close, but the moon looks a little bit suspect, so Right, we'll go with that. 240 pixels. Let's come over here. Now the calculation for your focal length is 240 times 2.9, which is my pixel size, times 206.265 divided by, I think it was 18.5 arc seconds, which was the size of Saturn at the time, equals 7,760. So Winjupos thinks this image is 7,000 according to the pixel size and the size of the planet at the time. Thinks that that's how big it was, and it pretty much was. I'd removed spaces from my Barlow to use with the 16 from the 24, and I forgot to put them back in. So when I went back where that toe, I shoot now at just over 10,000 with the spaces back in. So that's the focal length of this image. And see down here, 240 pixels, 241. That's how we got that number. So 240 times 2.9 pixel size times that number there, and then divided by the size of the planet in arc seconds on the day of. Okay, we're going to go with this. Draw the outline frame. You can click on there. You can also press the space bar. Sometimes it can be easier to align the planet when you turn the space bar off and on. Always like to look around this area here where the back side of the rings meets the planet. Excuse me. I might even go down a little bit because that's all blown out. And then you can look on this side here. There is a little gap where it tells you the shadow should be. That's pretty close there. We might go with that. And Jupiter's easier. Saturn can be tricky. All right, your zoom, your rotation, your gamma. Sometimes I play with them to make it easier. LD compensation. This shows you how close you are. If it's way too small, struggling, it's chugging. But you can see there. Righto. That'll do. And for the sake of this, you're probably not, with the upload to YouTube and all that, you're probably not going to be able to tell any detailed difference today. We don't want to make this too long or we'll send you all to sleep. Okay, Dave, draw the outline frame. Yep, outline frame with additional graphics, with grid, 20s, 30s, subsolar. Anyway, so I'll just leave it on that one. Go back to image. We're going to go save. Yep, that's in the right spot. Save. Open image. We're going to the second one. And see how it just kicked a little bit sideways then? That is telling us that it knows that the planet is slowly rotating. All right, we're going to go. The keys won't work unless you're on the adjustment tab. We'll go with that. And you can see down here the shadows not too bad. Save, save. Open image, number 3. So it's kicked around. The wiring follows, but don't be surprised if it's slightly out. So you always just be diligent with that. I'll just record that like that. Won't make any adjustments because, again, next one. See, this one is out. See how it's high there and it's high around the back there. So we're going to lower this one down. 1, 2, 3. That's pretty close. We'll go with that. Save. Open. One last one. Might go up one. Oh, maybe. No, other way, we'll rotate. So I've rotated P direction twice then. Okay, save. And that's it. So get rid of that. Tools, derotation. Edit. Remove all. Add. Miss me. When was that generated? 16th to the 11th. This is us. Drag and drop. Oh, I won't drag and drop. I'll just select all. Now the LD value there, it softens the edges of the planet. Now actually you can go to recording, image measurement, and before you go, see the LD value there, you can also do it there before you save your image measurement. So if you choose to do it there, soften the edges a little bit. If you're getting those hard artifacts, depending image scale and size and all that, you can't get away from it sometimes, but you can do certain things to try and sort it out. Anyway, get rid of that. We'll go back to tools. We should be still there. No, it got rid of that. And edit, add. These are ours. Open. And generally I'll just bump them down a little bit and see what happens. 85 for me. Sometimes I have been known, depending on just the characteristics of the wavelets and stuff like that, I've gone right down to like 70, but sometimes I've left it at 100 and it's perfectly fine. I normally go a bit wider scale than that, but I won't worry about changing it at the moment. Put your additional, it'll tell you it's going to overwrite your old file. If you do more than one, this is the area there where you can add a different letter every time you change a new one. If you want to do it slightly differently, you might do, we'll go with that, compile image, yep. And then we might go 850 pixels, see how small it is now. We'll go further, makes it smaller. Again, you watch, compile. Do you want to overwrite it? No, we don't. Get rid of that. We want to go DE, compile, and then it'll do it that way. And now you'll see that we have two back on the same page. Now that is pretty close to as simple as it is. There are some other things here, like you can change the orientation of it and stuff like that, but generally you don't need to because you can rotate it in any type of other program. So in a nutshell, that's Winjupos. Let's continue on. Okie doke. Astrosurface. Files. Open viewer. This is us. So you can see here, this one is, where's that? There it is, right over there. Come back. We want to edit, so now it's here. Get these out of the road. So it's exactly the same data. One of them just has a bigger area. Now this, see how it's 831. Again, this is not the perfect 1-to-1 pixel ratio. You want to click on that to make it 1-to-1. Sometimes I will do processing on 2 times, but it's still perfect. Like now there's 4 pixels per 1 pixel, so it won't create those artifacts we talked about before. And I'll probably leave it there for you guys because some of you might be watching this on a phone or something like that. And if you're still here, congratulations. Wavelets right over here. Let's get back to it. Set this all back to 0. Reset. Okay, I'll take all of these off. Now this is a noise reducer, and also there's a bit of a noise reducer down here. I think this is high frequency wavelets, low frequency wavelets, and deep convolution strength. Now I generally steer clear of this one, but do maybe muck around with it a tiny bit just to bring it together on maybe a CH4 image or something like that, maybe just one click of that. It just changes the dynamics of it slightly. Strength, you can start out. So if you remember where we were in Winjupos with Registax, how each different section, each different box highlighted different pixels that it was going to adjust. This is exactly the same thing, but this has much more availability to, you know, get into the tightness of in between 1 and 2. It'll do 2.5. It'll do much more flexibility with pixel size and scale and stuff like that. And you really do need to, you know, process each image separately from night to night. Wavelet size. One way you can sort of look at this is, I don't know, you can have strength 9, start with 5, strength 5, and you can look at it like this. Like if we start to drag this across the page, right, not on. All right, so you can see how it's starting to. Now, obviously that's cactus. We don't want that. It does highlight, you know, the shadow and stuff like that, but it's just at what cost? Or you can, you know, maybe you do like 20, but 20 looks better when it's reduced down to 1 or 2. 11, starting to get too grainy. 4, so maybe a bit bigger for this particular image. I really like see how it starts to just darken up those bands slightly around that area there. See, we take this back down here, and yes, they're there. It sort of like adds a little bit of contrast to it. Now, it's as we said before, it's about finding that balance of contrast versus once we don't be scared of noise, but once you really bring in a lot of noise, you're never going to get it back. So even if you go like that on here, then you kick this one in the guts. I mean, maybe you end up just using this one and get rid of that. So 4 and 12. What's 4 and 12 over here? Which one do you like better? That's very noisy. Not as noisy, is it? So this is about everyone's, because the image scale is different, everyone's data is going to be different too. Now that's not horrible. And that would be far easier to do noise reduction on, but it's very, it's very lumpy. It's very big. So there's a balance between the two. And another thing I always look at is I look at this area down here, and it used to be the Cassini division, but the Cassini it's so tight at the moment that can't really use that. That's how you could tell if your processing was good on your rings. It had that real fine detail there that you could. So we don't want that. Yeah, even that's too much. Do I like that better? I think I do. Okay, so that's these ones here. We'll use another, so we'll get rid of that one. We'll put this one in. We'll make it a bit noisier. Come down here, we'll have a look. So this is our noise reduction. So we're going to put that there. This is not the number I would use. We're just going to use it to show you. So that's N1, X1. Let's have a look. X1 sort of makes it a little bit watercolory, but it doesn't need to be that high. But you need to, it probably does need to be that high. It doesn't really, probably not interacting with our data the way we'd want it. So X2, yeah, it's very, very smooth. I'm not scared of noise with my images. I'm by no means the best imager in the world and care about it that much. Ultimately, this is too noisy. You know, you'd find a different way, but we just want to see how the noise, each section of noise works. That's not how I would do mine. You can't make a pig, a silk purse out of a pig's ear. So just understand that we're just doing this for showing you. Some days you can't process it harder than a certain time. You know, that's your image, that's your data. Don't be scared of it. It happens to us all. Right. I do tend to go towards this one up here. It does seem to be not too bad. Hey, we'll bring it back down there. And remember, we're looking at it at 2x. Now, if you're on your phone and you're watching this video, it probably looks pretty good. But if you're on your PC and you've got a full screen, like this would be full screen because I've got a double width monitor. So if you're looking at it on there, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. But as soon as I put it back to 1:1, it looks pretty smooth. You know what I mean? Like we get rid of that, and that's doable. And even that is a bit noisier than what I would process it. And you can clearly see the shadow and Ria's just there. So let's go. We're going to not use any of that. We'll just reset and we'll get out. And then we're going to go to noise and sharp, and it's over here. This is another different sort of set of parameters that you can use. So you reduce noises here, and there's another one there, and then there's sharpen here. Let's go 5. Okay, let's show you what 1. So that's 1. We're just in the middle at 15, just for the sake of argument. 2. This is the size of it's basically your different wave levels. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. I mean, you come all the way down here, and as long as you didn't go too hard, you could use it that way. You go to 8, you've got to reduce it. The bigger they are, it just makes it fatter. And you see it's blown it out. The closer you are recording, you need your histogram above 50%. You need it around 60 or 70, otherwise you're not getting 8 bits of data when you do your captures. But if you are going to play up in the higher lengths of like 90% histogram, when you sharpen, you're going to start blowing out some detail. So you've got to combat that with your contrast and stuff like that. So easier to stay. 75% is fine. For 99% of people, it's fine. Okay, let's go there. We'll just leave that there for a second. We'll go back to 3. Noise gets rid of the details. Let's try that. Okay, let's, for the sake of argument, say that one's good. And at 1, it probably is pretty good. There you go. Reduce noise. And that looks, you know, really good. You can't tell any difference. Yeah, no, Kath, you all right? Okay, sorry about that. We're just doing some stuff at home. So, yeah, you just find the balance. But these are the tools you can use. So if you're getting a bit of color noise as well, you can do that. But as we said, this is mono. So, it's a-okay. So this is another one. We'll reset that and we'll get out of it. Curves, yeah, it's the same as like your gamma and stuff like that. Gain, saturation, there's lots of tools here. Just have a bit of a play. Wiener, I don't use the Wiener. Crop, rotate, resize, gamma and gain, HDR. So this can, see how like it looks a little bit flat, and then you just ramp this up a tiny bit. It sort of gives you the sphere look with your gamma and your gain, and your, have a look. They're tools that you can use to you process it flat, and then you can bring that curvature back into it. Cancel. Go back into wavelets, and I'll get rid of that. 80, because I reset it all. That'll do. There we go. All right, guys, have a bit of a look through. Leave a comment down below. Anything you want to see, and we'll do a live session in a couple of weeks. And you know, we'll come and have a look, come and have a talk, and we'll look through it. And even I can't remember whether I put it at the start of the video. I'll put up a slide anyway if I haven't when I edit it. That send me. I'll get an email address that you can send stuff to, and you send that stuff to me, and you give me 4 or 5 stacks of your images, and I'll process them online. So while we're live, I'll process them, and you can get a good idea of what settings might work for your details and your captures. So anyway, guys, thank God that's recording. I can't believe I'm an hour and 13 in, but I'm very happy that I've pressed record this time, because that's how long I was doing it for last time, and all I had was the phone camera. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now.